In its quest to provide an open forum for discussion of controversial issues, this station allows hosts and their guests to express themselves without any significant censorship. You are advised that any view expressed by the host or their guest are not necessarily the views of the owners or management of TogiNet Radio, Togi Entertainment, or the Owners Group, Inc.
Motherhood Incorporated proudly presents Military Mom Talk Radio live on TogiNet.com. Co-hosted by Robin Boyd and Sandra Beck, the owner of Motherhood Incorporated. Military Mom Talk Radio is here with a powerful platform for women to discuss their ideas, issues, and concerns with respect to the military lifestyle. Military Mom Talk Radio encourages you to share your experiences of being a military wife and mother. This show is dedicated to educating your family about the many resources that are available in both the public and private sector, and we'll be sharing helpful information from women all over the world. We'll cover everything military, from helping a family member cope with post-traumatic stress disorder, to navigating government programs dealing with family issues, to the struggles of deployment, along with being a working mother both in and out of the home. This is Military Mom Talk Radio, and here are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey mamas, this is Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd, and we're coming to you live from Military Mom Talk Radio. Robin, how you doing out there in New Hampshire?
Hey, just fine. How are you? Welcome home.
Thank you. I had a great vacation for 2 weeks. It was really wonderful.
Wow, and you were up at the Finger Lakes, right?
I was in the Finger Lake regions on a lake called Canandaigua, which is completely on the sticks. And, we've got some Mennonite neighbors and, the horse and buggy and the cows and the, farmland. It was wonderful to get out of Los Angeles for a while.
Yeah. I think getting away is great. Even if it's just down the street to a local bed and breakfast, sometimes that's just what you need,
Absolutely.
Recharge. Yeah. Well, we had fun while you were gone, so I'm hoping you had a great time too.
I did. And, it's always amazing to me, the breadth and diversity of our country. When I look at the countries that we fight in, you think of, Iraq and Afghanistan and, conflicts over in Vietnam and Korea. And, there's varied terrain and stuff like that. But I just don't think there's any country in the world that I know of, except maybe the original Soviet Union, that has just the amount of diversity that we have.
It's amazing. Have you seen, and I don't know what, I think it's the Smithsonian Network. We don't watch it when it's on TV, but we have on demand, and so we watch it there. It's called Aerial, and then whatever state they fly over. It's the most fascinating show, and I encourage anybody to go and find these shows because they are so breathtaking, the aerial photography of the particular state, and then they give you a lot of history about why this was here, or what was this fort, or what was this in the colonial times. Or it has so much. It's so rich with history of that particular state. But the photography is all aerial photography, and it's breathtaking.
Well, and what a great show to watch with your kids.
Oh, it's wonderful. And I don't think they've gotten through the entire 50 states because we haven't seen New Hampshire yet. But
you're waiting for New Hampshire, huh? It's probably going to be a long wait for New Hampshire.
Probably, I know. But we saw Rhode Island, and we've had, and I do believe we saw South Carolina the other day. We've seen Tennessee. In so many states that you might not know a lot about. I did not know a lot about South Carolina. And these are just fascinating shows. So talk about, yes, the glory of America. This is a beautiful way to tour the country.
Well, and how fun if you're PCSing from one base to another, and you're going to South Carolina or you're going to Rhode Island, to pick up one of these shows and watch it, But that's what I thought. Like flying across the United States, it was such a clear day, and we flew in daytime. So, I took off in Los Angeles, end up in New York, and pretty much ran over the whole country. I think about, how many families are out there serving, when we flew over different military installations, and then I think of our families serving around the world, and, just what an amazing country we have, and, we're out there fighting and protecting, our freedoms and the freedoms of others, and it's so important, that we take a moment sometimes, in our, we feature charities, we feature authors, we feature all these things, kind of to give thanks for our country and to honor our country because it really is amazing.
Truly is. Truly is. And I think it's just wonderful to be able to chat with people as we've been doing from all over. Think of all the different states that we've talked to, or all over the world. We've had people even stationed overseas and whatnot. It's just fascinating to hear from everybody from all over. So cards and letters, we love them. Emails, we love them.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's so fun you say that, Robin, because our guest today, she's a woman who served in the military in 1975 through 1978, and we've kind of walked around, geographically in our country, but we're going to talk a little bit today about, the differences of, women serving today and women serving, 30 years ago, and if I'm doing the math right, 35 years ago.
It's true.
The different changes.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things I saw recently that came across my desk was a combat stress manual. It's a new one that's come out that's geared just towards women.
Wow.
Because it's funny, you think about, you think of the Marine Corps, okay, there's green and there's dark green or whatever, dark green and light green. And, but we are different. There are differences between men and women. Sure. And, we recognize that, Dr. John Gray, I think, helped identify that with men are from Mars and women are from Venus.
Exactly,
But, when we try to teach our soldiers to be the same, innately still we're different.
It's so true, and so many different things that we face even from, say, 30 years ago to now, whether it be focusing on women or whether it just be the military then and the military now. So many more resources now, which are wonderful, but it's so important for us not to forget the veterans. We focus a lot on the veterans that are coming home right now, but there's so much that we sort of need to back up and say, wait a minute, we still have veterans from other wars that we need to make sure that we take care of.
Right, like your husband.
Yep.
Your husband served in Vietnam, and
yes, he came home in 1970.
So he came home in 1970.
Yeah.
And now, we talk about technology because you're in New Hampshire, I'm in California, and, we have our guests patched in from all over the world. When I think back to those days, how did you even, did you just sit and wait for a letter?
Absolutely. And that was just so... the angst. At least I wasn't married at that time, but nonetheless, when you're corresponding with somebody and you are usually getting mail at a certain pace or whatnot, and then all of a sudden a month goes by and you're not getting something, it really is distressing because there's no way to find out where they are. And now, my goodness, they'll come in from a mission and they sit down and check their email. So now it really is wonderful that at least there's that communication and that connection and at least some piece of communication. You can't be there maybe, but at least you've got that communication.
Well, and when you think of this communication that we talk about, so much is done on Facebook today, and the military right now is funding a software project that aims to dissuade the jihadists and other enemy types from planning acts of war and creating a phantom army and things like this on Facebook. And, the Egypt's army unwittingly started polling Facebook users about Egypt's next president. You think of what started out as originally as just pretty much college guys scamming on pretty girls.
That's right.
And now it's used by jihadists and, the Egyptian army.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that was my little tidbit from out in the field this week, was that, well, first of all, we do have a Facebook page, and it's on our regular website. So if you want to go on and like Military Mom Talk Radio, we are on Facebook, and you'll get to all the updates. But the tidbit that I found from out in the field is that the National Guard is almost at 1 million Facebook fans, and they are trying to get to 1 million by September. That's their goal. They're at 956,157 as of 12:30 last night. So it's sort of like a hoorah to the National Guard to get them to their 1 million, which is kind of
fun. So really,
fun.
you just have to go on Facebook, search National Guard.
National Guard, that's it. And the only one surpassing that is the Marine Corps is nearly at 2 million. So,
and that's amazing, Robin, when you think, like, I was just looking up, because I remember when this happened, it was in 2009, and everybody was all abuzz, in my little geek squad, when the U.S. military finally joined Twitter and Facebook, and I think it was the Air Force, the first one to join, I'm not sure, but it was all this, like, don't you remember all the stink about, like, security reasons? And all
absolutely.
And then they launched TroopTube. Do you remember TroopTube,
yes.
the video sharing website? And but the U.S. military in Afghanistan launched a Facebook page. I think it was the first one. I think I'm correct in this. But it was primarily put up to counter Taliban propaganda. And again, I just get blown away by our country. We create this Facebook, thing, and now it's a tool that's used by our military and used by, obviously our, enemies. But and then, and here we are promoting, everybody to join the National Guard fan page. Like, how cool is that?
It is. It is. Well, it's a wonderful way to stay in touch, and so I'm just passing that along so we can give them a little hand and get them up to their 1 million. We've got just about, I think we're getting close to 30 seconds before break, Sandra. So
all right. Well, you want to close us out, Rob? Go ahead.
Well, I was not prepared, but that's quite all right, because I just wanted to encourage everybody to go to Facebook, and not only that, but look us up so you'll be up to date with all of our guest information and the other things that come across our desk. And shortly we're going to welcome Doris Rivas-Brekke. She is an Army veteran. She's an entrepreneur, a business owner, and a budding author, and soon to be radio host as well. So we're looking so forward to meeting her. We'll be back after this on Military Mom Talk Radio.
Are you a military mom looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? Well, that's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd. And we'll be right back after these.
Mind Matters is the show that dares to ask what's on your mind. Take this opportunity to join Dr. Larry Ross, clinical psychologist, and Joan Johane, licensed clinical social worker, as they combined have over 50 years of experience in dealing with your mind. Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, only on TogiNet Radio.
The Trick to Getting Published with your host, Florence Blake. Friday nights at 9, 8 Central on TogiNet.com. Flo has seen it, done it, and now can share from her experiences as a newspaper staff reporter, feature writer, freelance editor, and college writing instructor. And now Flo has authored a system whereby her students enjoy a 90% success rate in attaining publication of their manuscripts for the first time. In just 4 years, she has over 800 of her own articles published in national magazines, newspapers, and anthologies. Author of several books, including the powerful memoir, The Sicilian Nobleman's Daughter, Florence has advised and edited professors, deans, PhDs, and hundreds of students' writings before submission. And now it's your turn. Join us Friday nights with your questions. Most of Flo's students say they've learned much and thoroughly enjoyed the journey. It's The Trick to Getting Published with your host, Flo Blake. Friday nights at 9, 8 Central on TogiNet.com.
Put a boot in your ass, it's the American way. Hey, Uncle Sam, put your name at the top of his list, and the Statue of Liberty started shaking.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. covering topics to help on the home front with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey, military moms, this is Sandra Beck, and we have given Robin the rest of the show off. She is suffering from a migraine, so I'm not going to tease her about the pronunciation of our guest name, because for those of you that listen to Motherhood Talk Radio on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, that's our shameless plug for the show, you know I am just well known for butchering people's names. But today we have as our guest Doris Rivas-Brekke, which is kind of a mouthful, but if you meet this woman, you'll realize that her name is as unique and delightfully wonderful as her personality. And she is somebody that I met personally through a friend. And it was very interesting because not only did our paths cross personally over the years without realizing it, but she has hopes of having a radio show of her own someday. So we're going to bring her on today and talk about her years in the military and her experience with the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans, the Stand Down program, which she went and volunteered. So we're going to talk about that third segment. But for right now, I would like to welcome Doris to the air. Doris, how are you doing today?
Hi, Sandra. Thank you for having me.
It's, it's just so much fun because I love having guests in the studio because then I can actually look at you and see you. And for those of you listening today, you can go to Military Mom Talk Radio and look at Doris. You can also go to our TogiNet site and see who our guest is today, which is always kind of fun. Now, Doris, you served in 1975 to 1978. That's not your typical career choice for a young woman in the 70s.
Oh, that's for sure. It was my last desperate attempt to get out of my home.
Oh.
I mean, seriously.
So did you wake up one day and say, I think I'm going to join the military, or did you, that's just just wasn't common in that day. I mean, today we have so many women serving in different capacities, but in those days, that was really something unique and different.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was a desperate attempt to get out of my parents' home, but how it happened was that I had just returned from another desperate attempt to get out of the home. I had gone to Europe, and I thought I was just going to go over there and get a job and never look back. And as it turned out, it wasn't that easy to get a job. They always hire their people first. And so I just stayed as long as I could with what money I had. And
what country were you in?
I was in Spain.
Did you speak Spanish?
I did.
Oh, good.
I did. But that didn't matter.
Do you have a background? Because Rivas is that Latino?
Yes, it is. It is, but I didn't. I wasn't brought up speaking Spanish. I actually learned in school. So by the time I got there, I already had like close to 12 years. But and so it did help. But I wasn't fluent. But it did help anyway. So I went there thinking I was going to get a job, and it didn't work out, and I came back with my tail between my legs, and I had to move back into the home. And while I was driving around one day, I saw this billboard that said something like 2 years to Europe, and it was an advertisement for the military, for the Army, actually. And the next thing I did was I went in, because I was desperate to get back there somehow, and I went in to talk to the recruiter. And
were you nervous?
Oh yeah, because I never thought of myself as being in the military, but like I said, I was desperate, and I also wanted to go to college, and my family didn't have any money, and if I signed up, in those days they were paying the full amount to go to college. So, it was a win-win situation if they would take me.
Well, now, here's something funny the listeners may not know, okay? I'm looking at Doris right now. She's come into my office. She's got a really cool Guess mesh backpack. She's got her little hikers on with her cute jeans, a belt. She's got some nice bling going on. You would not think in a million years that you were ever military.
This is true. And I practically looked the same 30 years ago. Maybe a little more cha-cha, but they took one look at me and just kind of shook their head. But the thing I did have going for me was that I did incredibly well on the test.
Okay.
So I may have looked like something on a disco floor, but I was really sharp. And so they wanted me.
So we just want to put the image in, Charo joins the military.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, no, so what does your family think? You have a Latino background, and you're a woman, and I can't imagine that was a high-flying decision with your family.
No, actually it went over really badly, especially with my father, because he was ex-military. He was an ex-Marine, a very proud Marine, and I was already kind of a disappointment to him, and that's a whole other story. You got to get the book for that one. But he just thought, okay, she's going to go into the military and bring total shame to the family. So it did not go over big.
Now, is that just, let me, not to pry too deeply, but was that because you're female, because that you were his daughter, because you're cute? I mean, or is it all of the above?
All of the above, and I had already had a couple of mishaps with the law, so that's why my dad thought, she's not going to make it, especially because, the military is known for rules and regulations, and I had already broken some rules and regulations.
Yes, you do have that free spirit. When I look at you have a little bit of a free spirit going on. So let me ask you, for somebody who is as delightfully accessorized as you are, going to basic training, that had to be an eye opener.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought, okay, well, I'm going away to somewhere that there's got to be nightlife and so forth. So I went prepared. Like I always tell people that I made Private Benjamin, if anybody saw that movie, I made Private Benjamin look like a joke because I had twice the luggage and I was ready to party once I got through whatever, the basic training scenario was supposed to be. So what, you have all this luggage, you show up, I mean, what do they do with it? Well, I get off the bus in Alabama, Fort McClellan, Alabama, and the sergeants took one look at the luggage. They looked at me and said, well, you're not going to be needing this for a while. And they just took it off and wouldn't even let me. I said, can I take something out? No, you're not going to need anything. We supply everything that you need for the next couple of months. And I just was standing there with my mouth open, and some of them, I think, were laughing. I can't even remember. It was there were tears in my eyes.
Oh, sure. Your clothes are gone. Your makeup's gone.
Everything.
Your hairbrush.
Everything.
I would die. I mean, I just saying.
I did.
I did. So you go through basic. Was it tough?
It was horrible. I almost thought I was not going to make it, but I guess in the back of my mind I kept thinking about my father and, what a joke I would look like if that happened, that I failed in another, life situation.
So how old were you at this time?
I had just I actually turned 22 in basic training.
So that's a lot of pressure to say you've already, messed up along the way at 22. You still had a lot of living left to do, but you dug down deep, thought of your dad, and you finished it.
I did, and that was just the beginning, but it was tough, but when I got out, I began to see that I probably could do anything, and when I went home from basic training, I got leave for a couple of weeks or something like that. And immediately, my dad started treating me differently.
Really?
Yeah.
Made a big difference when you came back?
Totally big difference.
So do you think you earned his respect?
Well, I was getting there. I mean, I had finished basic. I looked good. I looked great in my uniform. So,
which is really, that's just such a chick thing. I look good in my uniform.
But he was proud, but he didn't just come right out and let me know that he was proud. I could just tell by the way he was treating me. And he was encouraging me because now I had to go to advanced training. And that was going to be, at least in my mind, even tougher because that was where I would learn the job that I was going to do for the next 3 years.
And what was that job? What were you preparing to do?
Well, because of my background, because I did go in with a 2-year college degree, and I did so well on the test for joining the military, I was given more jobs that I could pick rather than, infantry or whatever. I could pick some really great stuff. And my intention was to one day go into the psychology field. And I had already taken courses, so they offered me this one position that was just perfect. And it was under what they call 91 Golf. Everything has numbers and alphabets and whatever. And that particular position was mental health specialist. So I was going to become a counselor.
That's amazing to come from somebody who, didn't have a real predisposition to being a military. It's not like you were raised, with your Barbies going, oh, I'm going to be, in the military someday.
Right.
And, to also then to choose the mental health portion of it. It's just amazing to me. But, you have, to fast forward just for a minute here, can you tell us briefly what your education level is today?
Well, because of the military, thank goodness, when I came out, I did go back to school, and I got my degree in clinical psych at San Diego State University. And that was thanks to the military. They paid for it all.
That is wonderful. That's wonderful. And you're able to help me as a friend. You're able to help a lot of people. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in the next segments coming up. But for women signing up today, actually, we're going to get that after commercial break. My name is Sandra Beck. I'm the host of Military Mom Talk Radio. Our guest is Doris Rivas-Brekke today, and she is prior military, served in the 70s. She's going to talk to us later on about Stand Down, the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans, and her experiences there. I encourage you guys to check us out on Military Mom Talk Radio. We're also available on iTunes. When we come back from the break, we're going to have more from Doris Rivas-Brekke.
Are you a military mom looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? Well, that's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd. And we'll be right back after these.
In the healthcare industry today, most of us are left in the dark when our doctors talk to us about our health and wellness. It seems that they don't have enough time to be informative and give us the options we deserve. Are you frustrated with today's medical advice as I am?
Join the Medical Insider with Danny Walker and Dr. Richard Powell as they discuss the insider look at various therapies, medications, supplements, and much, much more. We will bring you the cutting-edge information regarding your healthcare and how you can take control of your healthcare decisions by not being fooled but being informed. Danny Walker and Dr. Richard Powell will be joined by experts in various fields throughout the healthcare industry, and they'll uncover the information that you should know about when it comes time to making those crucial decisions.
Don't be fooled. Be informed with the Medical Insider every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 Central.
If you're ready for a big change in your work, your career, your happiness, your life, it's time for the $1 Million Mindset with Marla Tabaka. Monday afternoons at 2, 1 Central on TogiNet.com. Marla believes that with the right mindset, anything is possible. Join us as successful life coach Marla Tabaka inspires you and her clients to explore, discover, and live your dreams by developing what she calls the $1 Million Mindset. Marla will inspire you to take action on your dreams and reveal secrets to success that will help you realize your own unique power. Tune into the $1 Million Mindset for heartwarming stories with Marla Tabaka. Learn tips and tricks to building a successful business and unlock the secrets to creating a happier, more balanced life through abundant thinking and attraction power. Power. For more information on the $1 Million Mindset, go to our website, marlatabaka.com. That's MarlaTabaka.com. It's the $1 Million Mindset with Marla Tabaka. Monday afternoons at 2, 1 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. Covering topics to help on the home front with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey, military moms. This is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with our guest today, Doris Rivas-Brekke, and she's so much fun. She's got a lot of great stories. She served in the military in the 70s, which is super fun. She's gone on to become a very successful author and personality, and she also is a counselor helping people and a volunteer for such great organizations as the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans, their Stand Down program. And for those of you that missed earlier portions of our segment, you can hear this broadcast on TogiNet.com on their podcast page. You can also go to MilitaryMomTalkRadio.com, and then you can also go to iTunes because we're available not only in France and Germany and the U.S., but we're being picked up by feeds we know in Japan and some other places in the Pacific Rim. So we want to thank you guys for listening and for being so supportive of our show and for our sponsors and our host company, TogiNet. I'd like to thank you for what you do to make it possible for us to bring this talk radio to the air. I'm going to switch gears now. I'm going to go back to our guest, Doris Rivas-Brekke, which is just a mouthful, and I love saying it because it's like, you know, it's multicultural, and it's just, I don't know, it's just a great name. So, Doris, we're going to pick up kind of where we left off. And, you know, we know that you got some great benefits from your years of service, getting your bachelor's degree in psychology paid for by our government and by our military. And while you were in the military, you were sent to a bunch of different conferences and seminars that were counted as college credit. But what I find interesting is when you were serving in the 70s, what was it like being a woman in the military in those days versus what you see today?
Well, I think back then that it was still an anomaly. And what I picked up right away, especially because of the way I looked, that women in the military then were supposedly more on the manly side. And there I was, very feminine and soft and delicate looking and so forth. So I got a lot of attention both ways. Some would not give me credit that I could do anything, and others gave me a lot of attention because once they got to know me, I was fun to be around, and I was smart and so forth. But there was a lot of discrimination still against women, definitely.
Very, very hard. You know, when I read some of the journals that I read and the blog posts and the postings by women, I mean, I think it's hard today. I think it's just hard anyway you slice it. But you served, you were supposed to go to Europe, but you ended up in Korea. Is that correct?
Oh, yes.
So you with your Spanish goes to Korea.
Oh, yeah, that was... that could have been the beginning of the end of a great career. But, they sent me to Korea, and a lot of that was my fault, and I share that with anybody who will listen because you have to get everything in writing. And when I signed up, the recruiter assured me, especially because of that billboard that I spoke about earlier, 2 years to Europe, no problem, we'll get you to Europe. And they send me to Korea.
That's amazing.
It was horrible. I mean, it was a nightmare. And I always go back to when I landed. It was right before the holidays, Thanksgiving. So I was already sad that I was going to, this place that I had no idea about. I thought of my dad. He served in the Korean War. he was very frightened because he thought it still might look like what he left. And so he was scared for me. And, I'm in my early 20s. It was frightening, very frightening. And when I landed at this place called Kimpo Airport. And I don't know if it's still that way, but then it looked like a war zone. And up and down the runway, they have these Korean soldiers with guns. And I'm just like, oh, my gosh.
Well, and you are in the military.
I know, but that's not how it looked in the movies.
Oh, my gosh. Doris, let me just an offside really quick here. My dad was in the Navy, and my dad's a huge World War II buff, and it's just fitting that, the one war that I didn't study anything about, know nothing about, is, the one war that my company's hired, to produce all this stuff for. But thank God that, there's Rick and his brothers and, everybody who's come together to help us in that. But like expectations are set, by the media and what we see, and my dad always had the war films on and, World War II and all the documentaries on the TV when I was growing up, and he'd say, oh, Sam, this is really important. Look at this tank. This is like, oh, yeah, right, Dad, I'm painting my nails, And then when I was in my 20s, I was so lucky to go to Europe with my mom, and we went on a 2-month tour with my mom, and we landed in Germany, and this is a very true story. We got off the plane. I looked to my mom, and I said, oh, my God, it's in color. Because I had never, it's like anything we saw about Germany was all black and white because it was German World War II footage.
Right.
And so I was like, look at the trees, they're green, But when your expectations are driven by the media, which was your expectation, and you get off and you see these things, you're a young girl, you're fairly sheltered, and you're all of a sudden now, landing in Korea.
It was devastating, and I have to say, I guess one could call it a nervous breakdown, and I couldn't stop crying. I was hysterical. I really thought I was in a war zone, and I couldn't wrap my brain around it. And fortunately, I was in Seoul, which is the capital of Korea, and I was medical. So they immediately took me to the hospital there, which is 121 Hospital, and immediately brought a chaplain in. That's how bad I was.
Wow.
Yep. And later on, I heard that they thought they were going to have to ship me back because I couldn't stop crying. But fortunately, my supervisor, who became also a good friend of mine, a Captain Allen, and he took me under his wing and just let me know that I could get through this and that I would be a better person for it if I could just pick myself up and get into my work.
Well, and I think, Doris, when I talk about, we talk a lot of mental health issues on this show, PTSD and all these things, and we work really hard to remove the stigma of people, caring for their mental health as well as their physical bodies, because historically everybody understands you come home missing a limb, you're limping, you've got a scar. That's a very outward manifestation, and people go, oh, okay, well, you were injured. But what we have today in today's war with these TBIs, the traumatic brain injuries, the PTSD, and I know in other wars we called it battle fatigue, shell shock, things like that. But, we're finally coming around to the understanding that we have to treat the whole person, and that's really what you're talking about. And I want to applaud you today for talking about this, because a lot of people won't. They won't say that they were afraid. They won't say that they had some difficulty with this. It's okay for us to say I got my foot, shot off by a toe popper and I had to have therapy, and everybody's like, oh, we get that. But, you coming on today and talking openly about some of this stuff is really so powerful, because we want to encourage everybody, every family member out there and every soldier and Marine and airman that's serving, that we have to care for the whole body, our mental and spiritual sides as well as our physical. And, do you have anything to say about that?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, while you were talking, I was just thinking about this event that I was in San Diego, because a lot of the people that are homeless, and now I had one-on-one contact with them at this stand-down event, is that a lot of those people they have mental health issues, and they have degrees in the severity. And the one thing that I did pick up is that, yes, we are starting, as a society, we are starting to recognize that our veterans, our active duty people, are suffering from issues, if you want to call them mental health issues, life issues. But my feeling is, and I talked to a lot of people at this event in the field, there's not enough attention. We need more attention. We need to let our people, our active duty people and the veterans know that they can talk about it. There's no shame in it. And that's really what I want to do in my new career changes.
You know, that's just so amazing how, you know, life comes full circle. And I look at you and I see, you know, this well-groomed, attractive woman who served in our military, who's not afraid to talk about something that had to be very painful at the time, and willing to share with other people, and then to advocate, you know, for the strengthening and care of the mental health of our not only active duty men and women, but our veterans, but also for the families. You know, the families that are part of, you know, when somebody goes to war, you know, the whole family goes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when you went to this event, what struck you most about the people that were there?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I knew it was going to be sad. I knew that it was going to touch my heart. And I think the thing that I picked up the most is how hopeless. You can just see it in the way they walk. You look into their eyes, which I did. A lot of the people, the majority of the people, look hopeless. And it's just sad. It's just really sad.
That's got to be very, very painful. And, you know, it's part of our society and it's part of our military. And when we come back from break, we're going to talk a little bit more about the event that was put together by the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans. And I want to congratulate one of our listeners just sent me a text on our chat that her niece, Taylor Thomas, just made sergeant in the Air Force. So we want to congratulate her, and we want to honor our listeners today for coming in live on the show and letting us know to celebrate some successes. And we talk about women in the military today. My name's Sandra Beck, and I'm the host of Military Mom Talk Radio, and we'll be back after the break.
Are you a military mom looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? Well, that's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd. And we'll be right back after these.
Lindale Link with host Holly Rand comes Mondays at 10 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
Lindale Link is Lindale's first and only internet radio broadcast.
Holly, tell us about it.
It's really something from my heart that I want to be teamwork for the entire community to get the word out about everything that's going on here. We're talking to the entire community of Lindale. This is not limited to just businesses or just parents or just teachers. Simply to get the word out about your cause or your company, you must go to where the people are. And today, people are on the internet.
Lindale Link.
Lindale, Texas is a growing chain of business, education, commerce, community. Together, Lindale Link can create one strong chain of communication.
Check out LindaleLink.com and then check out Lindale Link, the radio show. Lindale Link with host Holly Rand. Mondays at 10 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Fertility is an extremely personal subject. Tune in Monday nights at 9, 8 Central for the Fertility Forum with infertility psychotherapist and expert Phyllis Martin on TogiNet.com. This is the show about infertility, gaining support, and information. Phyllis will assist you in navigating the disappointments and decisions that often accompany the difficult journey from diagnosis to conception, pregnancy to parenthood. She is passionate about her work and is an expert in the donor egg field, bringing both her personal and professional experience to all she does. Ms. Martin has extensive experience in helping patients cope with infertility, pregnancy loss, adoption, surrogacy, miscarriage, pregnancy termination, and creative family building. She knows what you're going through, and she's here to help. It's the Fertility Forum with your host, Phyllis Martin, Monday nights at 9, 8 Central on TogiNet.com.
Put a boot in your ass, it's the American way. Hey, Uncle Sam, put your name at the top of his list, and the Statue of Liberty started shaking.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. Covering topics to help on the home front with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey, mamas. I love how he says my name. It's like Sandra Beck, you know? It's like, no, I'm like, yeah, my name's Sandra, and I just, you know, I always like, it just,
Right.
that section tickles me when that comes up. We're talking about some difficult topics today with Doris Rivas-Brekke. She is a mental health counselor. She's also, she volunteered recently for the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans, and she's an author, and she's also a veteran, former service member in the 70s, and we just think that's amazing, you know, for our women that have served historically in the past and the women that are serving today, because we've come a long way. But we're going to stick to talking about veterans right now, Doris. And one of the questions that I was thinking about on break is, you know, are we making any headway with veteran issues? I mean, there's veteran organizations. Like, I always donate my stuff to the VA, you know, and have them come and pick up stuff.
Right.
And, you know, we hear about stuff going on in the media. Are we making a difference?
Yes and no. It's so overwhelming now, Sandra, because of the two wars that we're involved in now. And so many people are coming back that need help. And then, of course, you know, the economy is not good. It's like everybody needs help. So when I attended this stand-down event, yes, there's a lot of organizations out there that really want to help, but the one thing I kept hearing, because I was talking to the heads of these organizations for research for my show, and the one thing I kept hearing from people is that they're so overwhelmed by the need. They're so overwhelmed by the need, and there's no money to help.
Well, and, you know, when you talk about no money to help, you know, because we hear that over and over, there's stuff people can do that doesn't require money. You know, they can volunteer for organizations.
Yes.
They can write letters. They can, you know, donate their cars or their things that they're not using anymore to some of these organizations that can be turned into money.
Yes.
And we're going to build our, you know, veteran base exponentially, and we have, because, you know, if you think about it with our current wars, you know, the kids, I think, are approaching 9 years old for just the babies born when this current war started.
Wow.
So we've got, you know, 9 years going on, or 8 years, whatever it is, 8 or 9, maybe 7. I don't know, but it's around there.
Right.
2003. Can we do the math?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm math challenged. But,
me too.
But the fact of the matter is we're creating a lot of new veterans in addition to the older veterans. And, you know, quite frankly, people are living longer. And, you know, we're going to have this issue for many years to come. This is not something that's going to go away.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the one thing that I kept telling these people, because I'm basically new in this whole veteran service issue, I kept telling the people that they can't get tired about what they're doing, even if it's just baby steps here, there. But yes, do what you can do, and like you said, there are many things you can do that don't require money. Like what I did, I volunteered my services. I went from Los Angeles to San Diego, and every time they heard that, they looked at me like, why? Because I want to help.
Right, and you want to make a difference.
I want to make a difference.
Share your gifts and your talents.
Yes.
And, Doris, it's really, what you said there is, it touches my heart a lot because, I've spent, 20 years supporting the Marine Corps, with their Toys for Tots drive. I've spent, 10 years with Children Uniting Nations and World of Children. And, we help so many of I'm children-based, so we help all these children. And it's really hard because you do so much, you donate so much, you volunteer so much, and there's more need and more need. And it's really hard to get get your head around the perspective, because you're almost like, sticking your finger in Niagara Falls and trying to stop the water coming through. And I want to share with you what happened to me last year on Facebook. This woman contacted me on Facebook, and I friended her because I'm like, that's what I do. I'm like, didn't even think of who it was. And she's like, you don't remember me, do you? And I'm like, it's embarrassing because, it's like, clearly I didn't say anything.
You're right, I don't.
No, I didn't. And she was somebody I had met at a charity event, a kid, a long time ago, and she said, you talked to me about the importance of education and that, I really need to do something with myself, and she's like, I never forgot that. And this is like, and she was one of, this was at a Children United Nations event where there's 2,500 kids, and I was putting on temporary tattoos. Oh. And she was, probably 14, 15, whatever. You talk to them right there, and then she was talking to me, and I don't remember her, I really don't. But here, 10 years later, she comes back. She's a college student in her 20s, and she's like, I never forgot that. So you don't know while you're volunteering, while you're doing these things, how you can touch somebody in their lives and what's going to come back 10 years later or 20 years later.
Right.
When you talk about things that you can do that aren't monetarily driven, a smile, a hug.
Exactly.
A few minutes of your time to say, because when I think of a lot of the homeless people that I've talked to, the homeless veterans in different organizations that I've served, a lot of them talk about making eye contact and somebody acknowledging them as a human being. Because even though, I get a little scared sometimes because they look creepy.
I
and
did
they're
too while I was
and,
there.
And they look at you funny, and, we want to be smart about things, too. But, like, when somebody, a vet will sit there and say, homeless vet, we'll work for whatever, and he'll say something to me, I at least acknowledge back. I don't encourage it because I'm, not crazy, but the biggest thing I hear a lot is just that acknowledgement that they exist.
Yes.
And that's got to be really painful. So if people are looking for something to do that doesn't cost any money, if you're in a situation with that, just an acknowledgement, a hello, hope you have a nice day. You don't have to give them anything. You don't have to do anything.
Right.
But just that human-to-human acknowledgement.
Well, that's actually what I did at this event. I had a couple of moments where I had one-on-one contact with two vets. One of them was a woman that all she wanted to do was have somebody to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, Sandra, I actually wanted to bring this woman home because I almost saw myself in her. But I knew what she needed, that all I could give her at that point was somebody to listen to her. And I would touch her, and I could see how she just appreciated the listening and the touching, and also I talked to her about my faith.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's a really big part of, what we do, in my life and in your life, and, for those of you listening, we're going to define faith as your belief in your religion and your relationship, with your higher power. But when I see the miracles that are done in the military community, insofar as this Military Mom Talk radio show is done, and I see these, organizations that started in somebody's basement or somebody's garage, and now they serve millions of people, or they feed millions of family, or they provide, helmet inserts for 100,000, Marines who need them in their helmets to prevent the TBIs. Everybody says the same thing. I'm here to serve. I'm part of something. There is a higher power calling me, whatever you want to call that.
Right.
And you're saying the same thing.
Absolutely. And that's what we have to keep in the back and the front of our minds, is that we can all do something if we want to. If we want to, we can all do something to help make a difference and not depend on the government. The government is not going to help in all matters. hopefully it will help in some, but we can't depend on that. We have to depend on ourselves, our communities, our churches, the services you're talking about that maybe started in a garage or whatever, and just do what you can. Just do what you can.
Well, and knowing that that's enough, because one of the things that, when you get involved in volunteer work and charity work, you come home really feeling good about yourself and good about what you do, but you feel really deflated at the enormousness of the need. So it's that catch-22, and it's very hard. It was very hard for me for a while to enjoy the fruits of my labor because I felt so guilty. I get in my fancy car that could feed, 40,000 kids.
Right.
It was very difficult for me to make peace in my mind with that, But then I realized, my faith helped me realize that it was okay for me to enjoy these things. It was okay for me to share things, and it was important for me to touch base with my higher power regularly on what I was doing so I didn't get off track, because you can get a little crazy with the volunteering.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can, everything has to be in balance and everything has to be in moderation, but if everybody just did a little bit, we can make a difference. And, when I think about all of our institutions, whether they be religious-based, education-based, welfare and, different government-sponsored programs-based, we all have to take personal responsibility for what we can.
Right.
Nobody's asking anybody to be the next Michael Jordan, but we are asking everybody to do their part. And I see that in our service member families because they have to be so self-reliant.
Yes.
And, so we want to encourage people out there to do what they can with the resources they have, to be creative, to think outside of the box. When I collect stuff, we collected scarves last year that were going to be sent overseas, and it was so funny to me about this one person who made scarves out of all these old clothes. And they were cute. They were good-looking stuff, But she was like, look, I made, this rag weaving or whatever she did. She's like, I used to do this as a kid with my mom, and she's like, it brought up so many memories. And she's like, I thought, what a great use for these clothes that, maybe somebody wants, maybe they don't. But the thing was, it was made with love, and it was made with heart, and made with creativity. And, we're all called to serve in different capacities, and it's up to everybody to figure out what their own gift is that they can share, because collectively we can increase the level of happiness in our country. We can help, the people around us. There's so much we can do if we just try one little thing once a day.
Yes.
That's 365, acts of goodwill over a year.
Excellent.
So my name is Sandra Beck. I'm the host of Military Mom Talk Radio along with Robin Boyd. Our guest today was Doris Rivas-Brekke. Boy, we covered a lot of ground today, Doris. Spanning the decades, we want to honor today all of our women in service, past and present. I encourage you to listen to our show and check us out at iTunes, and we will be back next week with another great show.